We're very happy to announce the Hyde 900 Dig Open.
In 901, thereabouts, at the beginning of the 10th century, Alfred the Great and his son, Edward the Elder, and Queen, decided that they would set up an abbey, maybe for the townsfolk of Winchester.
How do we get hold of our volunteers?
We've really now got a very effective website up and running, and with the publicity that our founder Edward Fennell produces, we ended up with 150 people working on this year's site.
So 40 last year and 150 this year.
Yes, indeed.
Golly. And what sort of ages?
Well, the youngest we've had on site is 4, and the nice thing is, of those 150, over 40 of them are under 18. So it's been a real learning curve, and they've gone away absolutely enthused and so
a whole
wonderful.
new generation of archaeologists.
Absolutely.
No pottery in it, so it's hard to date it. You get the same type of constructions and etc. throughout.
We're going to do some archaeology in my village as well, so I wanted to learn. That's Barton Stacey, about 10 miles north of here. We're digging in layers, so they tell us which layer we're on. So layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, layer 5, layer 6, layer 7, and I'm now in layer 8. Nice piece of roof slate.
It must have been soon after the accession of Henry I, the first decade of the 12th century, that a big new abbey church was built here. And you can imagine it going up, and it must have taken some time to construct, and nothing can have happened in it until 1110, when famously there was a wonderful procession from the old abbey up to this suburb of Winchester on the north side, bearing the remains of Alfred the Great and Edward the Elder, his son, and Elspeth, his queen, and they were reinterred in front of the high altar of the new church.
So here we are in St Bartholomew's Church, which was originally the lay chapel of Hyde Abbey, which is about 100 yards down the road. Now I'm with John Cook from the Winchester Cathedral, who is an expert on this era. And what we're standing in front of is really the treasures of St Bartholomew's. These are capitals from Hyde Abbey. And John, can you tell us a little bit more about these? What would a capital do, and where would it have been within the Abbey precincts?
Well, the size. Let's try to explain what a capital is first of all. On a column tends to be rather thin, and if you're supporting a wall on it, you need to spread the load a little bit, and so you have a block which typically expands outwards, and the bit that does the expanding, if you like, and which achieves the transition from a circular column to a square, the square wall, is called the capital. These are works of 12th century architecture of international importance, and I'm glad to see now that they're properly protected because they're priceless. We don't know who carved them, but sometime in perhaps 1130, 1140, that sort of time, these were carved with scenes which are hardly sort of Christian, very often almost sort of mythological or folkloric scenes. But they are absolutely splendid pieces of work. They're carved at Ulitic limestone, which is very interesting in its own right, because that stuff comes from the Bath area. It doesn't come from anywhere around here, not a local stone. And so they had to go an awful long way to get this material.
But what we've got here is fragments, obviously very important fragments within this column. What was the wider context? You had a diagram there, I think, which shows how that works.
Yes, well, what we're showing here is a little bit of a wall, if you like, supported on a series of these columns. And what we believe that these capitals form part of the arcade series of arches which ran round one of the cloisters, probably the main cloister of Hyde Abbey. This is a reconstruction, actually, or drawing of Christchurch Cathedral Priory and the infirmary cloister there, which had small-scale architecture of this sort.
We're delighted that as part of our community investigation in the last couple of days, we have come across, and I'll try and lift it up without doing too much damage to myself.
The other way out, first of all, and I'll explain.
Right.
The wrong
This
way
way?
out, first of
More
all.
like that.
Yes.
Fine.
In the excavation,
So what is this, John?
we saw a piece of stone like this, and at first I think it was, because nobody perhaps looked at it very carefully, it was a sort of plinth or something. You can imagine something would be built off this. That just happened to be the way round it was. Then I looked and realised immediately, I thought about it, that yes, we're looking at something which is this way up. And if you look at the drawing of the Canterbury example, you can see that it is this block which sits on top of the capital and allows the spread of the load, the weight of the arches to be even more evenly distributed and over a wider area, so as to avoid things splitting and cracking. This is called an abacus, and the form of this abacus, as with the Canterbury one of about 1150, this is probably that date slightly earlier. It's exactly the right date to go with these capitals, and what really excited me was when I got out my tape measure and took the measurement of the bottom of that, 11 inches if you like, old money, and compared with the dimensions of the capitals, I realised that within a couple of millimetres they would fit, this abacus would fit exactly on that capital, giving the arrangement that we see there. Well, I'm not saying that this one came particularly from any of these capitals, and there would have been a very large number of capitals in the cloister, but the coincidence of size is really compelling argument that they came from there. Could it therefore be that because we found two pieces of this abacus embedded in a wall down in the area where we've been looking for the cloister, it could well be that this points to the fact that we're generally in the cloister area.
Great, well, that's very solid. And in a way, it's also very, very satisfying way of having a link now. So we've always seen these in isolation. We're now starting to get a bit of context.
Absolutely.
And this does provide that in
Yes,
the most remarkable way.
Well, yes, these have been considered simply as isolated art objects, and they've been put on fictive supports looking a bit like the bottom of the
Indeed, yes.
column.
Yeah.
Well, we can now add a bit more to the jigsaw.